Iran is not negotiating in good faith. They backed off of their agreements in the past. And then Obama gives them the atomic bomb, or, makes a deal with them where there's no inspections to see if they're making atomic bomb. Good evening and welcome to the rest of the news. Our program today is red hot, and our special guest is Matt Singleton.
Hey everybody, nice to be here again.
Matt, tell us what your programs and things.
Basically, I have a ministry called BibleSmack.net, BibleSmack Ministries. You go to www.biblesmack.net. I have KGR, which is a political show, BibleSmack Radio, and I've been focused on defending the Bible and the faith and Christianity and stuff, and kind of talking about politics, getting it all mixed up together.
Well, before we forget, let's mention the National Day of Prayer coming up, which is Thursday, May 7th. Thursday, May 7th. It'll be at high noon until 1 p.m., and it'll be on the steps of Metro Hall, the old Jefferson County Courthouse, which is at the corner of 6th and Jefferson. 6th and Jefferson at 12 noon. So we are going to pray for America. If we ever needed to pray, we need to pray now, especially with all the problems that are happening. So we'd like you to join us. Again, that's Thursday, May 7th, and at 12 noon on the steps of Metro Hall at 6th and Jefferson. And if you can, bring an American flag and bring your Bible, and we're going to pray.
You know, the big deal is, and it talks about this in Timothy, we're in a spiritual war. You know, we're supposed to be soldiers for Christ. And when we deal with these political issues, there's always spiritual issues behind them. And we need to, pray and get our God's power and authority behind us. We need Him to start making a difference in our lives and the lives around us. And we need to pray for each other and lift each other up. And this is no better time than now.
Boy, I like that. I think you're right. We need to pray for one another and lift each other up. That's tremendous. That really hits the nail on the head, especially right now. You know, we have that bumper sticker. It says, when we're united under God, then we are invincible.
You know, it doesn't matter if the whole world's against you. If you have God with you, you're in the majority.
There's a lot of news that came through this week. These are mostly from Gary Bauer. Well, one of the main thing is this deal that the Obama administration is making with Iran. As I understand it, there's very little confirmation of what they're doing over there in Iran. In other words, they won't let anybody in, according to this preliminary understanding, won't let anybody in to check to see if they're cheating or not.
Well, that's Obama. He knows a lot better than you or I. He is the great Obama, and basically he's decided that we need to get rid of this, silly strategy we've had of peace through strength, and instead we want to go through war through hypocrisy.
Wow.
And this is the thing. It's like he has this type of philosophy to where, he may be strong when he's dealing with his people that he has power over. But when he's dealing internationally, he doesn't have that strength. And I think a lot of it goes back, if y'all ever watched that movie 2016, that kind of deals with Barack Obama's past, living internationally, the belief that colonialism, which somehow is just stamped onto America, the idea that colonialism is the problem of all the world, and so we just got to get away from American power. And at the same time that he's not really having a firm grasp on things, where he's letting Russia sell all these weapons over to Iran, then he's telling them how they should live their lives. And I saw a video where Hillary Clinton was telling the international world and many of the Muslim countries about how they should have a stand affirming gay rights and everything. And, you only got two big types in the Muslim community. You got the extremists, and then you have the people who basically they're a little bit more peaceful and stuff like that, and they believe in the morality, and so the ones in the middle are being told by the extremists, well, the Americans are nothing but evil pagans who want to, get you away from God. And so Obama goes in and he says, you know what? We're going to tell you to not follow God.
He's saying that to the Muslims or
Yeah,
to the Americans?
Yeah, to the Muslims in the middle. He's like, you need to respect gay rights and all that kind of stuff, and that's not their culture. And how are you going to have any authority behind what you say when you keep on backing down and you say you're going to do one thing and then you back off? I mean, Putin has made a fool out of Obama publicly over and over again, and these are just all these little signs of he's all talk, but when it comes to people who are against America, it's no action.
Now, here is another story about Hillary, how she unilaterally decided to wipe her server clean and permanently delete all emails from her personal server.
Oops! That Hillary, isn't she a delight? I'll tell you what, it's a funny thing about her. I heard a rumor the other day, and a lot of people used to make remarks about how Bill Clinton just seems like he would emulate Elvis Presley. And you think, why would Hillary pick a guy who emulates Elvis Presley? Well, I heard a rumor that, she had a secret relationship back when she was young with the king. And the king actually wrote a song for her. You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are.
Now, let's see. What is an opportunity for Republicans to? They should tell left-wing corporate bosses that they're not going to go along with this anti-religion situation. Let's see. I'll read this. Stands for religious freedom and family values. Big business has no more right to dictate the values of Indiana families or restrict religious liberties than do unelected left-wing judges. Okay, so they're talking about how when Indiana wrote their religious freedom bill, that all the businesses jumped on them and said, oh, we're going to leave Indiana and all that.
I think ultimately I blame more than anybody else, I blame the press. The press basically, lied to people. They made it a gay rights issue when it was people's rights, religious
freedom.
Yeah. And so, in other words, they said that you are bigoted if you want to worship the way you want to worship. If you want to live your life the way you want to live your life, then all of a sudden you're evil, you're a bigot. You see, that was an attack. The press attacked the people, and we need to protest the press.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing right now. We need to hold the press to accountability and maybe start looking at who it is that funds our press and kind of saying, look, if your business supports the attack on our freedoms, then we're not going to support your business.
Okay, Rush Limbaugh asked on his show today, why does the left hate religion so much? The answer is easy. Faith in God commands the loyalty of millions of Americans over and above the left's demand that we worship big government.
This is kind of core to America's foundation. I think it was John Adams who talked about how we basically, kind of gambled on Christianity and the Bible because they designed a government that would not rule the people, but that the people could rule themselves. And that's why even the most secular of the founding fathers would encourage the production of the Bible. They would encourage people to read the Bible. They even funded the publishing of the Bible because they wanted a society that could rule itself. So if the society can't rule itself and if religion is destroyed, then what happens? Then they need the government to change its nature and rule over us.
Okay, now here's another quote from Gary Bauer. In the last 24 hours, Ben Carson, Senator Ted Cruz, Governor Bobby Jindal, Senator Marco Rubio, former Senator Rick Santorum, and to his credit, former Governor Jeb Bush, have all expressed their support for the Indiana law, as has Reverend Franklin Graham. So that's quite a lineup to support the law. It says religious freedom is the new battlefield in America. Can you imagine talking about?
And, we think about the First Amendment. The First Amendment involves free religion and free speech at the same time. And I heard these press arguing that we don't have those freedoms. Judge Roy Moore, when he was kind of arguing his case over in Alabama, one of the members of the press sat there and argued that God has not given us these rights, that the state's what gives us the rights of freedom and things like that.
Yeah.
And you're amazed that, this guy he's thinking, I'm the elite, I'm the highly educated, and he hasn't even read the founding documents and the Constitution. I mean, does he really understand any of this? But that's what I'm saying, is that we've given the press a free pass, and that's why we're here, because we want to bring people the rest of the news.
Amen. Amen. Okay, here's another one. Obamacare attempted to force Hobby Lobby to subsidize abortion and contraception. The Obama administration is still trying to force nuns, the little sisters of the poor, to promote abortion.
It is an amazing thing, because this is legislation that barely, if at any, passed. The whole Republican Party, the whole GOP said no. And there's a lot of controversy over whether it actually legitimately passed. And yet still we say, well, no, we've got to fundamentally change America.
Yeah.
We're going to use this and push this and intimidate every individual.
To pay for abortions and all of that.
Yeah, to pay to murder babies.
Now, here's another one. In recent years, we have seen bakers, florists, photographers, college administrators, and high-tech executives being fined or fired for their faith in God if they oppose same-sex marriages. Then they want to fire them.
Yeah, and this goes back to, if you're making somebody work against their will, what is that called?
Slavery.
Slavery.
Yeah.
We're removing the freedom. We're forcing people to do things and act a certain way. And all of a sudden they're saying, no, it's not one nation under God. They think it's a nation that's over God. Yeah. But you know what? You read Psalms 2. That's all I got to say. Guess who's going to get the last laugh?
The demand for tolerance extends to everybody except those who believe the Judeo-Christian values.
And, I think that the big issue is, and we talked, there was somebody who watched one of our shows and complained about me and stuff, and basically there's a big difference. When we talk about freedom, we believe in our freedom and we believe in your freedom. But when we start talking about the government, then it's a discussion over whether we get to be free or not. And so I have no problem being in severe disagreement and yet not imposing that on somebody's life. And yet what we're seeing right now is a war to impose, a war to take away freedom. And so even if it goes in your direction or if it goes in our direction, it's not going to be a win for anybody, because it's a win for totalitarianism.
These people made wedding cakes, and people from the homosexual movement came and said, well, we want you to make a cake for this homosexual couple. And they said, no, we don't think that's proper, and it's against our faith in God, it's against the Bible, it's against everything we believe in, and we can't do that. There's another guy down the street, he'll be glad to do it for you. And they said, oh no, we're going to shut your business down, and we're going to picket you and put you out of business because of your faith in God. Okay, so here's an example like that. Say there was a black man and his wife that made wedding cakes. Okay, and somebody from the Ku Klux Klan comes in and said, well, we want you to make a cake. We're having some kind of rally or something. We want you to make a cake for our Ku Klux Klan meeting. He says, no, I don't believe in that. Okay, we're going to put you out of business. Is that analogy?
Yeah, and I think that analogy works a lot. Now, some people would argue, well, that's mostly just a race issue, but really it is an ideology, okay? I mean, you can classify as a race,
A
or classify
worldview
as
or
politics,
something.
or
Yeah.
religion. It's all they're all interconnected at this point. But you know, to me, it reminds me of somebody saying, "Hey, yo, Frank, how about we give you and your business some protection? And if you
Yeah.
don't get protected, if you don't give us the money, then we can't guarantee that you'll be protected."
Yeah.
There is a mafioso type of feel about this kind of stuff.
He says there's no real inspection in the Iranian agreement, and Iran has refused to surrender its uranium stockpiles, that all sanctions be lifted, and they demand that all sanctions be lifted immediately.
The whole key to keeping peace and not having to go to war with Iran is by having strict sanctions and making sure that they're never ever going to do this stuff. And if not, then we have to go to war. And that's the problem, is that, you know, when Obama says, "Oh, well, I'm going to let this slide. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let them make threats. I'm going to let them say death to America and laugh at my presidential face while all this is going on." All that is, you know, saying that inevitably we're going to have to go to war because you would not negotiate. You know, Ronald Reagan believed in peace through strength. We didn't have to go start a war over with Russia. Now think about that. He may have said, "I'm ready, we got the nukes ready, we're going to come after you." But because he did that, they did not have to actually go to war.
Okay, now here is a DVD, and in this DVD, the Iranians are yelling and shaking their fists, "We're going to murder America! We're going to murder America!"
I just think about this like, you know, back in the high school days. And back in the high school days, these guys, they do something called talking smack. And I got picked on in middle school, so I became a very powerful, tough man when I got to high school. And, you know, if somebody sit there and say, "Yeah, dog, I'm going to beat you down, you know what? You go up to them and you say, "Shut up." And you know what happens? They're all barking, no bite. But yet, when we come in, they say, "Death to America, death to America," and we say, "Ha ha, it's okay, you know, it's great."
Yeah. Now, you know, these DVDs are free. We'd like to send you a copy of this. People don't believe that Iranians are yelling and chanting and shaking their fist and saying death to America. The same people that, you know, Obama's making this deal with, which sort of opens the door for them to have an atomic bomb. But we'd like to send you this. And also on this same DVD is where the Democrats took God out of their party platform. And then they tried to put it back in. It's, you know, it was debatable whether that was illegal, putting it back in legally or not. But anyway, this is all on this one DVD that we'd like to send you today. Here's another one that goes into, you know, they're sending thousands and thousands of Muslims into America today. And when they get here, they go on Section 8 housing, they get aid for dependent children, they have 4 wives, and all of this, and they don't have to obey the law or the Constitution. And when they went up to Dearborn, Michigan, and people were handing out Bible tracts, they threw stones at them and Bibles and all that. You won't believe that, but that is right here. Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, and then here's another one where they're bringing in more and more Muslims, and they say maybe 20% are terrorists. Okay, but the Obama administration is making arrangements to bring all of these Muslims into America.
A lot of them are not all that they're cracked up to be.
Yeah.
But when we give in to them, we embolden them.
Exactly.
And that's the whole problem, is that, you know, this actually goes back biblically. The story in the Judges about the Midianites and...
Gideon?
Gideon, yeah. Basically, he ends up intimidating all the Midianites, which is like over 100,000 of them. And they ended up slaying each other in the middle of the night because they were intimidated by the Israelites who weren't going to back down and basically acted like they were going to just tear him up. And so a lot of this is psychological. If you let people know that America is a free country and it's going to do what it needs to do, then they're not going to, act that way. But what we do is we think, okay, we'll get peace through hypocrisy. Now we're going to get war through hypocrisy.
Okay, here's one more. This is Bill Federer Speaks on Islam. This is a review of the last 1,000 years of Islam by one of the top experts in the world, in the nation. It also has a segment in there by Bridget Gabriel, and it goes into why it doesn't matter that 20% of the Muslims are radicals and 80% are moderates. The thing is, the 20% that are radical control everybody else, just like in Germany. Only 20% of the Germans were Nazis, but they ran the show. Okay, it's the same thing everywhere. You only need 10% or 20% that are radical, and they run the show, because if anybody disagrees with them, boom, they shoot them.
Well, we got to remember that this is not just a physical war, but it's a spiritual war.
Absolutely.
This is why the atheistic government is really not working.
That's
because
right.
They see the spirit that's emboldening the Islam, but the spirit that emboldens Islam is basically a demon idol. It came from the old pagan religion. Allah was actually a demonic idol and stuff like that.
Moon god or something.
Yeah, it was. Well, that was a title, but I don't want to get too deep into
Yeah,
theology.
okay.
Anyway, the thing is that our God, the God of the Bible, is greater, and we got to start acting like, hey, my God's greater, and you have a demon, and I will cast that demon out.
Right.
We cannot sit here and act as if, because I've heard some Christians act as like, well, the Muslims are going to come in and then you can't do anything and the church will fall apart. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's right.
If the Muslims come in, I'm going to win those Muslims to Christ and I'm going to claim that territory.
That's right.
One of our C-47s went down behind enemy lines. We will go in there and bring them home.
Hit rewind, click delete.
More than welcome to read my Bible. Might make you feel better.
Stand face to face with the younger me.
You wouldn't be preparing my men for death now, would you, soldier?
No, Sarge. Absolutely not. I have no idea how my dad died.
Who's Eddie Adams?
No idea.
Why didn't you try to contact him? Maybe he can fill in some blanks.
I'm Wayne, Eddie Adams' son.
It takes a soldier who knows it.
So why are you guys going to D.C.?
To walk the walk I'm supposed
We're driving to D.C. to see our father's name on the Vietnam Wall.
And love like I'm not scared. Give when it's not fair.
The things that he's seen me do, I don't think he could forgive me.
Jesus loves you selflessly.
The things of earth.
This ain't the first time I made this trip. My mama wanted to see it.
Evening, sir. Could I interest you in a couple of bags of beef jerky? Hey, this stuff is so good, you'll punch your mama.
It's okay.
I'll stand on the sides of
My father's Bible. I always struggled with my belief in God. But I'm thinking about it. There's a verse that Stephen keeps telling me about. Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. Your dad got my dad to read the Bible. I got your back. No, you're staying right here.
Not a chance.
We gotta fall back! I got you covered! Go!
Do you think I still have time to make that choice?
He loves you as much as you love Wayne. And he'd die for you, just like you would die for Wayne. You and me here is temporary, but paradise with him is eternity.
As I understand it, the IRS is still, doing things that are illegal.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever changed, and that Lerner, who was doing a lot of the illegal stuff, they never prosecuted her.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors that went on with that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we feel so bad about something, and we're not going to say what, but da-da-da-da-da. And, they basically did a dog and pony show. And, basically, they decided that they would play politics. And they would go after people who would be against a leftist agenda.
Yeah.
And, you saw that over and over again. All these different Tea Party groups that would sign up to be 501c4s, I think they were, political groups, and they would make them jump through dozens and dozens of hoops or try to say they're one thing or the other and do anything they could to keep them from actually becoming active so that they couldn't affect the election in 2012.
And that's all totally illegal because the government is not supposed to be a political party to jump in there for one political party and prosecute the other and be for one religion and not for another.
I'll put it to you like this. If the IRS was only about stopping tax cheaters, well, I'd be 100% in support of it. And let's go follow the law. But, they have decided that they can do anything without accountability. This has been going on for generations. Now, I'll tell you real quick, a very incredible minister, many years ago, named Kent Hovind. He was famous for his debate with evolutionary atheists from different colleges and professors and things like that. Basically, when they took him under, it was for structuring laws, and the structuring laws were made to get drug dealers. Well, Dr. Hovind never took any drugs or anything like that in his life, but they put him away for 8 years. They put his wife away for a year. They gave him a bad reputation publicly. Talked about him as a tax cheat and everything else. Well, here we are now, and last January, his sentence is up. But instead, they threw charges at him while in jail that, you are in contempt of court. That failed. So then they said, well, you did mail fraud. They charged him for mail fraud, 6 counts, and in tax court. And you know how hard tax court is to get passed, okay? It's about 99% conviction rate. Out of 6 counts, he defeated all of them, except for one, technicality of contempt of court. And here he is, still in jail, months and months afterwards, awaiting sentence. He's 60 years old now, hasn't gotten to see his grandkids, doesn't get to see his wife, going through all these different things. And just to kind of, stick it in there, they're saying, okay, well, we're going to keep you here. But the problem is that if he was so guilty that first time, how could they not have convicted him again?
Listen, Matt Singleton, we're out of time. God bless you, and tune in again next week for the rest of the news.